happy today, the 13th of January in the year 2023, complement of the season. We're in the second week of the month of January, and welcome to this special interview once again. You can follow the program on social media page and Ask a Movie, and of course our movie TV bouquet. My guest on the program is coming from the leadership movement. His name is Professor Oliver Silumbe, who is in charge of information and research, as well as innovation production. So the question we look at this evening: how can Zambia be turned into a production house? Remember that for a long time now, one of the critical concerns that have been coming through from various stakeholders has been that Zambia is on the consumptive area and not producing and not production. So we are trying to find out from the leadership movement, a political party which believes that Zambia can only prosper if we are to be much into production. Professor, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Piri. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Let's begin from here. First of all, compliment of the season.
Well, thank you very much. Happy New Year too.
Fantastic. Right, how is the leadership movement?
The party is growing.
What do you mean when you say the party is growing?
In all areas. I think we, from our angle, from my department, research, innovation and production, I think we are closing all the parts that were remaining. So we are getting ready for 2026.
Fantastic. Let's also talk about the growth of your political party in terms of visibilities across the country. I know you are a young political party, of course, about 4 years now. How has the leadership movement really expanded so far?
I would say we are on every part of this country. All the 10 provinces, we have representation that side. And our members, the membership base is growing. Looking at so far how we have fared in the by-elections that we have been holding, I think we don't miss a by-election. If we miss, then it will be one. But all the by-elections, we endeavor to make sure that we participate. That way we make sure that we register our presence. Yes.
Right. Contesting in a by-election is one thing, but producing tangible results is the other, which has been quite difficult on your part as a leadership movement. And you as the professor, why do you think you've gone wrong so far?
I wouldn't say we have gone wrong. I think we are doing our homework and we have done our part. You know, society change is a process. Societies don't just change in one day. The populace you are seeing today, they are a product of people that came before us. So people don't just change, boom, in one day. Even our colleagues, the UPND, it was not voted for into power in one day. It was a process. More than 23 years they've been prepared. So even in our case, as we respect that process of change, we know that by 2026 people will be ready. So even as we participate in all these by-elections, even though we don't get such results, you know, the media will simply cover who has won. If it's not leadership movement, then you consider that we are not growing and we are not doing much. It's a process. This period in which we are in, it is a UPND period. And people are still trying to see, can these people deliver? Can they give us what we need and what we had voted for them? And others, this is when they are seeing that, oh, actually, they can vote for UPND. So you need to understand that for people to come and actually be converted, it's a process. It doesn't happen in one day. And if you wait to say until I am popular, you will never be. So the laws of process dictates that you need to take time. And those that gain popularity, anything that gains popularity in a second, that's how fast they also finish. So anything of worth takes time. Just like you go to school, you don't just go in and graduate instantly. You go in, take some years, because the process of changing and the re-education of the masses takes some time. So that's why we are comfortable. Even when we look at the metrics that we look at, are not those of simply people, let's say we fail to get a by-election or a what. No, no, no. We look at the response from the communities. From the time that we started with contesting in by-elections, then the general elections, then we've continued with by-elections. So, with the results that we have been taking, when we decode them and understand them, it is giving us a very positive trajectory, which we can know when we extrapolate. We know that by 2026, we would have taken over the nation.
Before we come to the current situation and also maybe in finding the solution and the way forward from the economic malaise we're in as a country, amidst the load shedding, we also talk about the agriculture sector, which is also quite, yawning right now as we speak. One critical concern in this country since the attainment of independence, maybe we can spare the UNIP in the first maybe 15 years of the UNIP era. Of course, we saw the Dr. Kenneth Kaunda and his government setting up a number of industries, a lot of companies, meaning Zambia was a production hub at that particular moment. But thereafter the UNIP, the country went largely on the consumptive area. When you look at the leadership we've had from the UNIP era, or after the UNIP era, until where we are today, as the professor, a man who is in charge of research, how would you describe the current leadership present in Zambia?
Well, I think from the UNIP era, like you have explained, as a nation we have tried. I think we've been flip-flopping. We try this, it doesn't go so much. The Mwanawasa time, we tried to stabilize the agricultural sector. But generally as a nation, we've had this line of consumption based. Besides that consumption, I can describe our country as a welfare society, where it's not a bad thing to actually focus on the vulnerable. But I think to some extent, we have missed the point where you want to achieve something, but you choose a wrong path. So, our country at the moment, it's not even, it doesn't even require a person like me to come and analyze. We are consumptive and very unproductive. That's the sad reality. And it all comes back to the leadership, how policies are made. Not that Zambians are truly unproductive, but they've not been dedicated or required to produce and live their potential. That is why we thought to say, what Zambia is missing, it is missing a critical component, which is production. So I was very happy last year when eventually the president of the leadership movement had to consecrate and create our department, because if we waited until 2026, people can choose whichever party that they want. That's why they need a leader. They will say, okay, we voted this, let's try this. So we realized to say, we have to be ready. Our manifesto is not enough. We have the manifesto, but that explains the presidential vision. From there on, me as the Secretary of Research, Innovation and Production, we now have to digest the manifesto into actionable plans and instructions to the lowest member of the government strata. This is where everyone misses it. Many people come up with very good ideas. When you look at the PF, before they came into power, they had a very good manifesto. When you read through science and technology, agriculture, blah, 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 you see, they had it, but what they had were simply presidential directives. That's why you can hear the president doesn't need to really write anything. He will just come on wherever he is and say, I've directed the Minister of Energy to make sure that load shedding ends. It is done. His job is done. Now the minister, what does he do? What does the minister do from there on? The president can even set up a task force or a commission of inquiry, but from there, from the ministerial level to the director's level, this is where problems come in. The two presidents have actually bemoaned the situation and cried foul. The current president and the previous president, President Lungu, also bemoaned the situation to an extent that he could even say, how I wish I had the power to fire anyone I feel like. But that's his government. It has levels. And those levels, politicians need to sit down and understand how government works. You can have a good vision, but then if you don't know how to interpret it and give it to the lower members of the organization, you end up failing. Besides that, visions that you bring up have to be digested to the lowest member of society. So this is where leadership movement comes in with the Department of Research, Innovation and Production. Like the current situation right now, we have proven beyond reasonable doubt that we need a cultural change to bring in a culture of production where a Zambian is recognized. What do we mean by that? Every person has what they can contribute to society. So, for instance, I'll give an example. In the NH sector, to recognize the participation of the private sector is very cardinal. We have a vision that Zambia has to be productive. This is where now we come in. What does it mean to be productive in the NH sector? And we have the solutions, actionable plans. We are saying the nation has to turn nuclear. That is the long-term solution. And it has to start in the immediate now. Besides that, we need private participation in the production of power. What do we mean by that? It means that every common Zambian should have a stake in the production of power to prevent laissez-faire in the government-owned parastatal. This has been the culture with government-owned institutions. So that culture has to be changed. I'll give a quick example of a government wing that is not performing well. When it comes to mobile providers, CLZ is always the worst. And yet it hosts the others. So you wonder, why? When they just changed the CEO and foreigners came in too, everyone was behaving well. CLZ performed well. Immediately, President Sata reversed that. People went to sleep again. So that is the kind of culture we want to bring out. Take it back to the way it is supposed to be. Zambia has to be put in the hands of the entrepreneurs.
Do you think Zambia, with the current leadership we have in place, are we able to, to turn the country into a production house as we desire?
At the moment, the way we are moving, certainly not. Why do I say so? From the onset, that is why we are talking about cultural change. Actionable plans have to be given. For example, the issue of load shedding didn't start today. It's not a UPND thing. It will even be unwise for someone to come and levy it on the UPND. It started way before. In fact, even the leaders that are here, we were together in opposition when we argued to say load shedding is unacceptable. They entered power. We remained on the other side. They didn't prepare for anything. Load shedding came back. And then we see this scenario where even the board chair wants to come and apologize to the nation. Personally, I would say ZESCO has a lot of competent engineers. They are simply taking the fall because of political reasons. The people who are supposed to apologize is the leaders and not ZESCO.
When you say leaders, what do you mean exactly?
The
Because
president,
even at ZESCO, they are leaders. You
no,
mean political leadership?
I mean the political leadership. Right. It's the president who should actually apologize. And the apology should be plain and simple. Sorry, countrymen and women, I did not prepare anything for you in the energy sector. That is why load shedding has come back. We have to be clear and straightforward. No insults. The board chair cannot apologize for misleading the country and the president. Right. Wrong. Because the board chair and the ZESCO team load shedded us when President Lungu was still there. Why didn't he apologize then? So meaning the results have always been there. We know that we have climate change. So that is why we as the leadership movement, this is why we said, let's create a department that will make us ready. We have a good manifesto, yes. And our flag carrier, the vision carrier, gave us the manifesto. Guys, we are going this side. Now we need more people, more intellectuals, more stakeholders to come and interpret that into a productive society. So where do we go? In the energy sector, the leadership movement is saying, we go nuclear. We are not just saying, we have researchers on the ground. They give me updates every now and then. And you'll be surprised today, you have me today. I give you these figures. Next week when you have me, I'll give you more figures because we are dynamic and we keep on changing, resharpening ourselves. So like on the nuclear question, what we are looking at is we have a scenario where Zambia produces 3,000 plus megawatts of power, total, all forms of production, hydro, solar, and thermal. Now we are saying we can set up a nuclear power station that can produce 1,000 to 3,000, just the same power we are producing, just in one power station. Or we can break them into three. And the metrics are telling us that from our research, to produce the same power that Zambia produces at the moment, we only need 1 ton of uranium. For the whole year, not 1 month, just the whole year. And this is green energy. There's nothing like carbon dioxide soot going where. We can produce and feed into the region. That depends on us. We don't even need to start saying, no, switch their power off and blah, blah, blah. The fact that they depend on us, we don't need to say we'll switch off. We say we'll produce more so that our brothers and sisters can stay also in the light. All we have to do is redirect ourselves to the resources which we have. The greatest resource that Zambia has is the human resource. We have people who are qualified. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to have a phone-in debate with one of our lecturers at the University of Zambia. Upon my assessment, I could tell such human resource which we have, even though it was for the idea that we take some time, but you can tell these people are very educated. I have been there myself before. I've been to CBU. These people, we interact with them. They have the capacity. What they lack is the direction. So, cement, you might ask, don't we produce cement in Zambia? We do. Don't we produce steel in Zambia? We do. Are we capable of producing, maybe we can go a bit detailed, a class 30 or a class 45 concrete? We can. How long can it take? 28 days. So when people say that is difficult, it will take years, I wonder. I usually forgive them because they have lived for a long time in a period of lack of productivity. Within 1 month, there's so much you can achieve. Because in 1 month, every concrete you pour on the ground, it will set to its full strength. So, leadership movement is saying, by 1 year, 6 months, you would have seen the power station. What would be remaining are just the reactors and putting everything in order in terms of enrichment of uranium, which we have.
So your target is to set up a nuclear plant, let's say in the period of 1 year, 6 months?
1 year, 6 months to 3 years.
Yeah, do you also consider the factors that, of course, a very, critical concern which has been coming through whenever you bring out such kind of ideas people tell you that Zambia, yes, you can have everything, the resources or the minerals and everything, but you do not have the physical cash, the money.
That's the thing. Money is an idea. Money simply came in. It's a creation of the people that wanted to stabilize and standardize change. Money is a medium of exchange. So when we take ourselves back to the common history that we all learned, in southern province at Ingombe Ilede, what was being practiced? It was barter system. So when we say, of course I will not do the 14-hour thing. No. Let's take ourselves into 2026. I'm the Minister of Energy, for instance. Okay? Now, I'm back here with you. Tell us, Prof, you told us that we have a nuclear power station. In fact, I will even tell you to say, right now, if you want to have me on the show, simply follow me on site. I don't have the time to come and sit in the studio because we've already prepared the plans. The engineers tell us how much we need. And this is not money. For the sake of people who want to hear about money all the time, we can give you to say for a 1,000 megawatt power plant, nuclear power plant, okay, for those that want money so much, we are talking about 2 billion or so, okay? But those other money, there are so many schools of thought. We as leadership movement, we are simply saying we don't actually need any money. But for argument's sake, for us to come and set up a nuclear power station that can produce 3,000 megawatts of power, electric power, to rival what we are already producing, we will need about 6 billion kwacha. Those are our estimations, okay? But if we are only doing that for argument's sake so that we can put it into perspective, because most people, everywhere you go, they will tell us, what about the money? But that is a medium of exchange. No wonder when I say, don't we make cement here? We do. If we have Zambezi Cement, Sinoma, is it Lafarge, Mbamvu, Superset, all the players there, what they want, we can do straight into conversions because we have all the resources. And we have Kafue steel. We have, is it Good Time steel? We have so many players. So if you have steel and cement, what can you fail to put up in a nation? There's literally nothing. Above all, we have uranium. We have copper. Now, let me go further and simplify this. Many people are afraid of nuclear because of conditioning for some time. There was the Chernobyl accident in the 1970s or 80s. Then we had Fukushima. Those accidents, like the recent one, Fukushima, was caused by what? Wasn't it the earthquake? When is the last time you had a tremor here in Zambia? We don't have. Nothing can threaten any structure. You can even build bend at 30 degrees. It will never fall. As long as it can hold itself there, it will be like that. You see? Now, a nuclear power station, it is simply Mamba thermal power station at Mamba Colliery is there. It's just the same, minus the core burners. Where you have core burners, you simply replace it with a nuclear reactor. That's all. They are all based on burning. It's just a steam engine. If you use coal to burn, to run those steam engines, the technology is the same. Now it has advanced where we build containment area vessels out of thick concrete, 6 feet, or even a meter or 3 meters or so, to enclose everything and test it so that whatever happens, all those things will stay enclosed. So we are in the information age. We have this. So instead of politicizing this, I urge everyone to quickly look into, if there are intellectuals around, we sit around the table. Guys, what are the metrics? What are the parameters? People don't have to be afraid. We have nuclear objects, even in our hospitals. When they do an X-ray, what's that? Those are radioactive substances that they hit through your chest to see whether you are sick or not. So we don't have to be afraid. Others are depending on nuclear power, which is cheap. Imagine you produce the same power, just 1 ton. 1 ton, we are not saying it's a big, it's just a small amount for 1 year. So these are our perspectives, and we are going into the last detail where we'll be able to share with the nation, say we need so many metric tons of cement, so many metric tons of steel, so many, metric tons of glass and everything that is involved. That is how far we are prepared to go in this direction.
Can we simply say that you, the researchers, have let this country down in the last 58 years of Zambia's independence? Because really, you seem to have all these ideas, and these ideas have not yet, been fulfilled with regards to how Zambians can be able to benefit. Today, all the blame is heaped on the on President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND government that it is failing to address the crisis in the energy sector. And yet we've got researchers like you. What have you been doing all along?
Doing my
Not
job.
only you, but several other
Yes.
engineers we have in this country.
Yes.
Why have you failed to stop the load shedding the many years Zambia has existed?
That is why I was saying, our school of thought, and personally, to see the board chair apologize for this issue is erroneous. That's my school of thought. Researchers and engineers, technocrats, we have been doing our job. The problem has been, less has been required of us. Here is an example. You can't say the Zambian researchers have not done their part. No. Why? Every society has structures. We have set up the way we are supposed to govern ourselves as a nation. We set up the government structure, parliament, the judiciary, and the executive, headed by the head of state. You see? And every 5 years, we go to elect the new king or the new president, the new servant of the people. So now, I've done a lot of research, including when the other regime was there. So many papers have been written to State House. Some of them have been responded to. Personally, I'll tell you, I've done so much in the housing sector. What happened under the PF regime? All I heard was the government has started the National Housing Empowerment Fund based on the research which I did, and they excluded me. What has happened? That project has failed in their face. People have cried. Money has been swindled out of them, their pockets. You see, politicians have always had a problem. They want to take credit where they are not supposed to. And they don't want to take blame where they are supposed to take blame. You call up a board chair to take the blame and leave the person who should be blamed out in the clear. So I'm saying it is erroneous to blame the technocrats. You can't even say University of Zambia hasn't been doing anything. Even if they do something, as long as people in the leadership circles at government complex are not inclined to accept those new ideas, we are not going anywhere. Look at leadership movement. It was set up. I was still in the academic sector, still carrying out my research. I simply joined later on because of what? The willingness to accept intellectuals and researchers in the club. If they wanted also, they could have continued politicizing everything. And the president went further to say, no, we need these guys. Can you do the job? I said, here is my resume. All I breathe, drink, and eat, sleep is simply application of technologies in a miniaturized form and establishment of these new ideas through philosophical thought. I ran through an interview and I passed. And the president created the Department of Research, Innovation and Production to make the party ready for office. So what does that mean? If a political party can go that way, it means it is willing to embrace everyone. Leadership for the past 58 years has only considered the arts sector. In Zambia today, even in the previous regimes, an artist can produce a song and be recognized, and they will be honored for that. You see? But a researcher in the sciences or in that area where you have to shape society, especially intellectuals, you can never see any recognition. They always wish to go for the foreign entities. That is the colonial mindset which we always talk about. So it's not the problem of the intellectuals, it's the problem of the policymakers. Like if we say we are going to, for example, be producing medicines in Zambia, or we say like our stance on the mining sector, we are going to be producing copper ourselves and all the minerals, whereby we will first form the Mineral Reserve Agency so that it acts like FRA, and we have a reserve for these minerals, and dissolve ZCCM, because Zambia is not just about copper. Zambia is about so many minerals. Create new platforms that we create a Mineral Reserve Agency so that our youth at the Black Mountain and the various hips in the country, or like recently in Kalomo, where lithium was discovered, whatever bag of soil they will bring, at our MRA, Mineral Reserve Agency, they will find government researchers and entrepreneurs who are geologists and experts in the field. They will be able to tell them, say, okay, fine, your soil has so much copper, so much gold, so much chromium, or so much cobalt. And that citizen will be paid just like we have in FRA. When it comes to maize planting or business in the agricultural sector, no one even gets a license. But why are Zambians required to get a license when it comes to minerals? It is colonial. These laws are not meant for Zambians. They are meant for foreigners, so that those guys can come and apply for a license. You don't need a license. As long as you can dig, you have a title to your land. That's why you always hear the president say, land with title deeds to Zambians. What we want to do is to secure whatever is down there into your hands. People in Kalomo don't need a mineral license. What they need is they simply bring a sample of their soil to the district office at MRA and show the government workers there. What they have, the same way they bring maize to FRA, they will be paid. Then those that want to participate in the processing, I'm sure you saw it on media. We have already made a micro mineral processing plant, a mini blast furnace. Red soil is dotted around the whole nation. So we can revamp steel production. And there are many other small machinery and equipment which we have designed for our people. So when people vote leadership movement in 2026, it's a referendum on minerals. There will be no discussions, no task forces. There will be no meetings to be held. That is why we have our department. Everyone is watching us. All directors, universities, you need to get ready. I am a researcher myself. I'm being briefed by other competent people. There's nothing like you say, oh, these are politicians, let's now tell them what. We are already living the talk and living the reality. We get power, minerals back into the Zambian people. We dissolve ZCCM IH. We replace it with a mineral agency that is focused on all the minerals. Not a scenario whereby people are digging copper. You consider cobalt, chromium, and all these earth metals that are important as a byproduct. So even if they get, they will never be taxable. So we will remove licenses from the book of it all. Just like you don't need a license to plant maize. even here at Movie TV, any small loan that remains, I can simply come and ask, guys, I have small seeds here. Can I plant here? You will even be laughing at me. Oh, come on, go. Help us remove the grass. That is the scenario which we also have. Because we are all about securing Zambia's resources. That's number one. By giving title deeds to every Zambian, jobs to the Zambian youth through production, supporting local businesses with tax breaks and tax holidays. Today they will tell you, we have increased the money in constituencies. But for it to trickle to the people that needs it is a problem, because the process is long. So let's put it into perspective. For a person to start a business, they have to pay PACRA, ZRA, NAPSA, all these crazy institutions who are just, I can consider them as ticks on the Zambians that carry this whole nation on their shoulders. So before you sell, or like before Movie TV hosts me, they have to pay all these people. Now I ask, what do all these government agencies do for Movie TV? Or what does the council do for a common person who has opened up a stand, Kantemba, at their house? Muyad Aisula Kantemba, they start selling. What has the council done for those people? Nothing. And entrepreneurs are the most neglected. We are not saying we are going to pamper the entrepreneurs. No, they can survive on their own. But what we want is, because we also want to benefit from them as a government, we are going to boost them so that they become bigger than they are. Any person who has sat down to understand the development of countries and nations will agree with me that it can only be developed by entrepreneurs. England did the same. America learned from the British. Germany has done the same. You support entrepreneurs first. Those are the ones that have to be considered first. I know I will be misquoted, but I will continue sharing with the nation. You don't focus on the vulnerable first. Focus on people who can stand on their own. Now, that is for people to digest and think through. In the political line, I wouldn't even qualify. But before I can look after people in Mrs., I should first of all look after people in Kablonga. Because those, they have that multiplicative effect. In Zambia today, the way it is, you can be the owner of Movie TV. I work for you. We take selfies here. Yeah. We go to a money lending institution. What is going to happen? We are all looking for 20,000 kwacha. Me as your employee, I will be given 20 pin. Just by saying I work at Movie TV. But you as the owner of Movie TV, you will not get that money easily. You have to put this whole place as collateral. You put all the documents. You put all those things. Then you also have to find a guarantor. One of your friends who also owns a business. You see the thinking? Welfare. Not that it is bad to look after the vulnerable or to be pro-poor, or I don't know how I can put it. Why I'm discouraging this approach is, when you consider a group that these are vulnerable, it will be playing at the back of their minds that we are poor. Just like every journalist tells me we don't have capacity, we don't have the money. Because it has played on everyone's mind for over half a century. You see, since 1901 when they came, they made sure there are books like How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. There's so much literature, but you need to enter into it. Even as politicians, I am happy I've been allowed to go into the last detail of my field. I don't even feel ashamed to bring out whether it is politically correct or not. I just live my life as an intellectual, the way I lived when I was in university and as a researcher or a lecturer, with no apologies, and bring it to you to say, you guys, before you can help a poor person who needs government support and donations, you first of all need to help entrepreneurs. I was giving an example of you and I. You own Movie TV, I work for you. Me, I'll be given the money, 20 pin, I go back. You will remain explaining. I made so much in the last quarter. Can you make projections? You see, they are delaying you. But what people forget is that if they helped you as the owner of the business, you have employees to look after. You will be able to look after them. They will not even be able there will be no need for them to even go there. Because there will be those bonuses.
That's quite interesting, Professor. Well, not to curtail you, but I just want to push in one or two questions together. My earlier question was a challenge to you, the researchers, the academians, and among others who are watching this program, there, because the concerns of many Zambians is that even the load shedding we are facing today is because of the lack of capacity or the inefficiency coming from the researchers like you, among others, of which you've come to their defense, you've ably explained. Besides that again, I can tell you that as we speak right now, we are into a terrible, flooding around the country because of the heavy rains we receive every day. And if you look at Lusaka, among other areas, these are problems, these are perennial problems which we have failed to find a solution on how we can be able to address this flooding around. And yet, we've got educated men and women in this country, professors like you. But look, with your explanation, how can we bridge the gap between the politicians who, of course, ultimately they make decisions. If politics tumbles, everything tumbles. Like you mentioned that you are a researcher and you've done a lot of research. You did help the PF administration in your quest to change a few things, but of course, things never changed because some of your research were, gotten from you without any recognition. But the question is, what can we do to ensure that we put the brains of the politicians and also the brains of the academians like you?
It is simple. When I declared my candidature for Kwacha constituency, everyone said, oh my God, what is the problem? How do you leave the good work that you do and you mess yourself in politics? Politics is a dirty game. My answer has always been simple. We will continue to be blamed because usually politicians are big mouth. That is why I had to join, and I encourage everyone who has something to contribute to the nation. If you can do it and explain it well to the people, you can come on board. There's nothing wrong. Just like businesses should be supported. Now, the bridge is for people to elect a political party that understands what it is doing. Not for vote's sake. It's a give and take. Like in Kwacha constituency, when I was campaigning for the office of Member of Parliament, people have their own thoughts, the majority. Okay? And politics and democracy is a game of numbers. People have their own thought of what development is. And you as a leader that comes, those who are not strong, they simply fall into the trap. If people, wherever you go, you say you are standing, they simply want you to go there, dish them money. Okay? That is the life they led for the past 10 years, 15 years. Leaders passed them through a pipe and transitioned them. Remember when you asked me to say, how are you measuring your growth if we can't see representatives?
Exactly.
So you need to understand that as we walk this path, we as leadership movement, we are actually the bridge. Like my department for research, innovation, and production, it's actually the bridge that from the universities and all the intellectuals on one side to bridge with the government so that they work together. Because government cannot work in a vacuum. They have been able to survive because of foreign interventions. That is why we have so much debt and we seem not to be able to escape it. Look at this. Instead of people to sit around and think about a homegrown solution, what did the government do? It says it doesn't have money and capacity, but Lazard was hired to restructure our debt. Look at the kind of thinking in which we are. So here we are saying leadership movement is going to accord every citizen their contribution, chance to contribute to the development of our society. So this is where we come in. It will take some time for people to understand, but eventually they will. You know why? Because the nation is already in a mess right now. Those who want to be staunch that let's blame ZESCO for this mess, they will continue feeling the waste treatment, because engineers there, they can't hide it. You know why I am not blaming them? They've been load shedding this country before UPND came into power. So if we go to University of Zambia and ask any mathematics professor, we can prove this. If we suppose that, in fact, we don't have to suppose, it's a fact, ZESCO load shedded Zambians before President Hichilema came into power. When they load shed the same Zambians today, when President HH is in power, how so then should the board chair come and apologize? It's superficial and hiding behind the curtain. So we are calling leaders out. Stop hiding behind intellectuals and blame them for it. When he says all those people that are interested in doing mining or they want to participate in this, like usually I'm attacked by UPND supporters who say, no, why don't you go to State House and share your thoughts? Stop blaming your friends. Let them run the country. I say it is that mindset you should change, my brother, my sister. You are married for 2 years. Your husband is still not producing anything tangible in a right direction. It is now that they are calling up a task force. No. From where I'm coming from, it is unacceptable. When you come, you take power, plans should be set on the table. Every director should find those plans on the table. The minister involved, I wonder where the Minister of Energy is. The minister should be there. Call the directors. Once you are appointed, guys, the policy of this government is we are going nuclear. Well, let's go around the table. Anyone with thoughts and contributions? The next call, University of Zambia, Vice Chancellor, can I have the HOD for nuclear physics? Can I have all the heads of department in the Department of Engineering? All engineers come here. Guys, where we are going is this. And the same political party should even have preliminary plans of where they are going. If it was leadership movement today in power, we would be showing, instead of you calling us for an interview, I wouldn't even pick it. I'm forced to come here because we are an alternative power and we can't control anything. Therefore, I have to do my interview here. But normally, what I do is, if people want to ask something about me, I call them in my workshop or the lab. And we are decentralized. Lusaka, majorly administration. Copper Belt, that's where we have put up our research centers. That's why you hear all the time I'm on the Copper Belt. Because we want to work. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Even the cameras, Movie TV should find me in my workshop. I tell them, guys, what we are doing is this and that. Not seated in a comfortable chair. People are being load-shedded. We should go nuclear. We have everything that it takes. Besides that, we need to set up factories for solar panels. They are very simple. We need also, hydro is not that we have to forget about it. We can also look at the other side, which we are calling micro hydropower generation. You know those 5,000 watt generators. that same generator, you simply create a very simple turbine. We call it a whirlpool and a vortex turbine. You connect there. Lusaka has a lot of flats. Just mumi follow ishine bapanga wino. You set it there. It will generate 5,000 watts for you, and 10 homes will benefit. Now, this nation, because as we wait for power, for water to back up behind the Kariba Dam, we have a lot of water. The rest on the northern part of Zambia. So this is what we want to encourage. What I'm talking about, that like that micro hydropower generation, we have this in our workshop. It's just a matter of giving them to people, or assembling a group of people in Kalingalinga, or all the metal fabricators in the nation. Guys, how we fabricate this is you do that, you do that, you do that. The plans are there. We are simply waiting for people to give us the mandate. Just like the blast furnaces. When you look at Chingola, up to the last mine in northwestern province, they are all open pit. What do they tell you? You've heard most of our leaders in leadership movement, they say picks and shovel. What we mean by that is that Zambia's minerals, they are so closer to us than we think. We can actually begin from the principles. Then we start with simple machinery, locally made.
What do you believe, what is your stance, Professor Silumbe, with regards to the education system that we have right now? Because, when I listen to you and I listen to many other academians out there, believe me, you people have got a lot of ideas, very brilliant ideas. But how viable are these ideas? What do you believe in? Because are we a country which is full of theories, without practicals, without actions? Okay. What do you think when you come into power, you'd maybe overhaul the education system?
Of course, the education sector needs overhauling. Some precision in some of the things that we teach our children has to be updated up to the 21st century. And then with more focus on production and teaching the people to stand on their own. You see, I was just explaining about the mining sector. I remember, I think it should be grade 9 in geography, where I first learned about a blast furnace. It was just drawn like that. Okay? So the only thing that is missing there is actually bringing people closer to the things that they are being taught in class. Right. So, of course, you've quoted me defending the intellectuals. Yeah. Even in its bad state, the education sector, it still produces people that can still make U-turn around. However, we need to overhaul much of the things that are there. For example, we need to make it a Zambian-centered education system. In the past, until recently, we used to study about Canada and all those countries, which are of no consequence to us. You see, we now need to teach our people what is in Kalomo and who are the Zambian true heroes. That is what is needed. It is plain and simple. All the pedagogical requirements and theories around should be surrounding the instruction around people understanding their environment, development of tools, and then skills to appreciate their environment. That should be the purpose of education, to further their existence, so that people should understand what is Lusaka, what does Lusaka sit on. That should be the education. And the application of new methods such as ICTs, integration of so many technologies. We need to bring our people up to date. Right. So we have a lot of work in that area. And for the education sector, why I don't so much talk about it is that I think the capacity that we have is very easy to make a U-turn.
Right.
It will just be a one score. We turn around.
As we
things.
close, Professor Silumbe, what is your message to the people of Zambia with regards to how of the Zambia you dream?
Well, our message is simple and clear. Let's get ready. We are after bringing back your pride. When you listen to the Zambia national anthem, we want it to be a reality. When you say victors in the struggle, free men you stand proud under the flag, it should really transform. You need to own your minerals. You need to own your land. Businesses will be prioritized.
Right.
We will support our local team because local is lager. Above all, Zambians must be ready. Every vote that we get, be it now up to 2026 when we take over power, our promise is not that we will come and change things whilst the citizens are waiting. No. That is not what leadership movement is saying. So voting leadership movement is a referendum on everything that we are promising.
Right.
Land to the people. And the production will be an everyday thing in all walks of life.
Prof, thank you so much.
It's
Wish
a
you the
pleasure.
best in your political endeavors.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We end the program here. I've been hosting Professor Oliver Silumbe, who happens to be the Secretary in charge of innovation, research and production under the leadership movement. Thank you so much. May God bless Zambia. May God bless Mother Africa. Good night.